Welcome to this online presentation that hopes to give you an overview of the evaluation and assessment in the European section of our school, Lycée Edward Steichen, Clervaux. Lycée Edward Steichen, with its European International School, has an evaluation and assessment policy in place that is fully in line with the evaluation policy, the grade requirements and the related promotion criteria as defined by the European Schools regulations. Evaluation is an integral part of long, medium and short-term planning and related teaching and learning. Learning objectives form the basis of evaluation and assessment. They relate to pupils' competencies, their knowledge, skills and attitudes to learning. Evaluation is a process of reflection on all the data and information collected by the teacher and school. Teachers, subject coordinators and the senior leadership team use school and pupil performance data to identify areas where they are doing well and where they could improve. The school evaluates the work done in relation to learning conditions and settings and uses this data for planning its future work, setting priorities, program development and implementation, etc. Evaluation and assessment provide feedback to help pupils develop both academically and personally in line with learning aims and objectives and their wider education and development as an individual. Evaluation and assessment processes, related practices and results are important for pupils, teachers, parents, the school and the European school system more widely. Learning objectives are included in the various European schools' subject curricula. These programs can be found on the official European Schools website at www.eursc.eu. For evaluation and assessment during the first cycle, also known as the observation cycle, that is years S1 to S3, teachers use the alphabetical grading as shown here. The grading system contains 7 levels. Each level uses a performance descriptor, an alphabetical score, and a definition of overall performance. A pupil is considered to succeed with an alphabetical grade E, sufficient. This grade E can only be given when the requirements of the corresponding level descriptor have been met. In this first cycle, S1 to S3, the European schools system uses a holistic, comprehensive approach for evaluation and assessment, also to facilitate the transition from primary to secondary school. Evaluation and assessment should not be considered as a selection tool. What is the point of having very precise numerical results in an evaluation and assessment system that is based on competencies? Please note, a grade A indicates excellent performance of a pupil, but not necessarily perfect performance. All European school programs include level descriptors which are specific to the subject being studied. They are a set of general statements that describe the different levels achieved in relation to a given set of skills or learning objectives. Level descriptors refer to the grading scale. Our teachers use these level descriptors when planning for teaching, learning, evaluating, and assessing and communicating results. Here you see an example of a level descriptor for an E grade in integrated science. Pupils and parents should be aware that these attainment descriptors can be found in most of the syllabuses online. At 4 key points in the school year, the school issues intermediate and end-of-semester reports. Intermediate reports are prepared in the middle of each semester, that is, in November and April. These reports are discussed with parents at parent-teacher evenings. Half-yearly reports are issued at the end of each semester. At Lycée Edward Steichen, teachers are required to develop action plans, i.e. schemes of work for their respective subjects. The development of these schemes of work for each of the subjects taught creates and reinforces awareness of the development of 21st century skills. The development of a common vision and collaborative work are essential in order to harmonize approaches and to ensure optimal implementation of schemes of work. Concepts that may seem abstract must be formulated in a concrete way, simple and understandable for all. They will link existing programs to developing 21st century skills and formalizing the related LESC approach. The action plans also include information about evaluation and assessment procedures. During the school year, a teacher tests and assigns tasks to their pupils to track their progress and to check whether and to what extent certain parts of the curriculum have been acquired. At the end of the school year, the teacher gives them a final grade. The difference between the lowest and highest grades can be considerable. In order to make final decisions transparent, teachers are required to develop an evaluation and assessment plan. The plan is designed by the team of teachers responsible for a subject and harmonized between language sections. Such a plan shows, for a given subject and school year, the evaluation activities that will be organized, when they will be organized, what competence they will focus on, and their weighting to each competence in relation to the final score. And an analytical test on a small part of a subject, for example, simple equations in mathematics, which follows a limited number of lessons on the subject, perhaps may only count towards 10% of the final score, whereas a more comprehensive test held after several months of teaching, requiring the application of knowledge on a wider range of subject content, may account for perhaps 30% of the final score. If the teacher deems it important, the assessment of working habits may also be included in his or her pupil evaluation. The assessment plan must be communicated to pupils, as it is essential pupils understand how they are to be assessed. The school also establishes a formal assessment timetable for the school year. As a result, classroom assessments are spread throughout the school year and cannot exceed more than 2 long tests per week. The Pupil Report provides information about the pupils' results in each of the subjects in the European School's curriculum. For each subject, the teacher gives an alphabetical grade. These alphabetical grades are supplemented by a written teacher comment and, if necessary, by a comment about pupil performance overall, drawn up by the class council. Please note, teacher comments should include information about the pupil's efforts, his/her attitude to work, the performance achieved. Each comment is personalized and relates to the individual pupil grade. The first mid-yearly report contains comments and alphabetical grades. It indicates the level of work for each subject. It is very important to notify parents at this time if the pupil is not working or if the results are insufficient. The second half-yearly report also contains comments and alphabetical grades. Like the first mid-yearly report, it shows the level of work for each subject. If needed, this report may be accompanied by a warning letter indicating a possible risk of a pupil being in danger of having to repeat the school year. It is appropriate to give a warning as soon as a pupil has 2 F grades or less. The first half-yearly report contains alphabetical grades and comments on each subject. It may also contain an overall comment from the class council, which is made up of the class's teachers, a class form tutor, and at least one member of the senior leadership team. This report may be accompanied by a warning letter indicating a possible risk of a pupil having to repeat a school year due to 2 F grades or lower. The second half-yearly report is also the final end-of-year report. This report includes alphabetical grades, the final grade, and a comment for each subject. The report also includes the class council's decision on the pupil's promotion to the next academic year. The final grade does not necessarily correspond to an arithmetic average of intermediate or semi-annual grades, but expresses the teacher's judgment as to the level attained by the pupil and his chances of success in the next class. The grade provides the basis for judging the progress and level reached by the pupil. The final grade cannot be lower than the lowest or higher than the highest score achieved during the school year. Decisions for passing the school year are made at the end of the school year by the class council. The class council does not decide on the basis of the pupil's results alone in each subject, but based on the overall picture and information available to them. Parents should therefore ensure that they communicate during the school year any relevant information that may influence this general image of the pupil. In their discussions, class councils consider the following key aspects. To be promoted, a pupil must have the basic skills, motivation, and maturity to successfully move into the next year group. The promotion of a pupil should not have a negative impact on the overall academic development of the next class. The class council may ignore inadequacies in languages 2 or 3, or in the subjects taught in the vehicular languages L2 of English, French, or German, for a new pupil at the end of his or her first year at the school. A pupil is not allowed to repeat the same class twice in secondary school. Guidelines for promoting S1 to S3 pupils. Pupils with an alphabetical grade of E or higher in each of the main subjects are automatically promoted. The situation of pupils who have not met the standard, that is a grade E or higher in each of the subjects that are relevant for promoting a student to the next year, is examined particularly carefully. Pupils will not be promoted to the following year if the following two criteria apply. A. Pupils who have not met the minimum level, at least a grade E, either in 3 or more than 3 course subjects, or in 2 course subjects and 2 or more than 2 other subjects, and B. They are unable to compensate for their insufficient grades F or FX. In the first cycle, we distinguish between the core subjects, Language 1, Language 2, Language 3, Mathematics, Human Sciences and Integrated Science, and other subjects, Art, Musical, Physical Education, ICT, and Luxembourgish, which is a requirement from the Luxembourgish Ministry of Education. Whilst the opinion of the effort and behaviour of life and society that teacher is taken into account, the attainment grade is not directly relevant for promotion. The rules to apply for compensation are: 1. Each F grade must be offset by a D or higher grade. Each FX grade must be compensated with at least a B grade, with the C grade and a D or higher grade, with 3 D grades or a higher score grade. Guidelines for promoting S1 to S3 pupils. Pupils with an alphabetical grade of E or higher in each of the main subjects are automatically promoted. The situation of pupils who have not met the standard, that is a grade E or higher in each of the subjects that are relevant for promoting a student to the next year, is examined particularly carefully. Pupils will not be promoted to the following year if the following two criteria apply. A. Pupils who have not met the minimum level, at least a grade E, either in 3 or more than 3 core subjects, or in 2 core subjects and 2 or more than 2 other subjects, and B. They are unable to compensate for their insufficient grades F or FX. The following slides give examples of reports leading to passing or failing. Here is an example of a report that could lead to a pupil failing. Are there 3 insufficient grades in the core subjects? No. Are there 2 insufficient grades in the core subjects and 2 more in other subjects? Yes. Do the grades that are failing, the F and FX, do they have compensating grades? No, they don't. Therefore, this is a failed report, and the pupil will have to repeat the school year. Here is an example of a report card that would allow the pupil to pass. As you can see, there are no insufficient grades. Thus, the year has passed and pupil moves on to the next school year. Now we look at the third example, where you will see that there are 4 failed grades in the core subject and a further failed grade in the optional subject. So we need to see if there are any compensating grades. And as we can see, that there is 1 extra failed grade that cannot be compensated. Thus, this is a failed report card and the pupil will not be promoted. In this 4th example, you will see in the core subjects that there are 3 F grades. However, these are all being compensated. And thus, even with these 3 failed grades, the pupil passes the school year and can move on into the next school year. Thank you for your attention. Please contact the Options Coordinators team if you have any further questions about assessment and evaluation in our European section.